Hello! In this video, I'm going to teach you how to play Imminent Peril, the creatively chaotic storytelling survival game. This game is for 3 to 6 plus players, typically lasts 30 to 90 minutes, and is rated ages 14 and up. The game contains 4d10 dice, instructions, and a massive amount of cards. Let's set up the game. Shuffle and place the hazard, location, quirk, and menace decks face down in the center of the table, along with the 4d10 dice. Shuffle and place the deck of ability cards where everyone can reach it, separating it into multiple piles if necessary. Place piles of vote cards next to the ability cards. Next, have players select a player card to represent themselves and place it and the matching target card in front of them. These cards have no effect on the game and players should choose which design they like best. Give each player a reference card and put the Me First card to the side. Now, we're ready to begin. The game starts by creating a randomized scenario where your story begins. Draw a random hazard, location, quirk, and menace card and roll a d10 for each. In this example, the starting scenario would be a haunted carnival inhabited by rocket-powered spiders. As a group, combine these 4 elements however you wish. They are meant to inspire a unique scenario and act as a starting point to spark your imaginations. Maybe these rocket-powered spiders escaped a nearby research lab and attacked the carnival, and now it's haunted by the trapped souls of their victims. Everyone should freely suggest ways in which things could fit together, and build on ideas that resonate with the group. Continue to add details until everything makes sense and you've created a scenario brimming with danger. There are 2 universal rules that apply throughout the game. The biggest rule in Imminent Peril is fun first. If everyone is okay with something, it can happen, even if that means bending one of our other rules. Which brings us to our second rule. Yes, and. Imminent Peril is an improv game, and players can add new details at any time, though they should make sense given the story so far, and cannot contradict existing details. If there are conflicting ideas, try to combine them. The point of this game is to have fun telling an unforgettable story together, not arguing whether or not something is possible or makes sense. Keep these rules in mind as you craft your story together. After the general scenario has been established, the next step is to insert yourselves as characters that have been a part of the story all along. Take turns describing where you are and what you are trying to accomplish. Having a goal helps to provide creative direction later. You should all start relatively nearby one another so that the consequences from a previous round could potentially spill over and affect someone else in the next round. Everyone should start off as mundane humans, though this may rapidly change as the game gets going. Player 1 might be a worker who used to travel with the carnival from town to town who's coming back to search for a missing friend. While player 2 could be the host of a TV show that explores haunted locations who's eager to uncover the secrets the carnival contains. Now that players are set in the story, they need to draw a hand of unique ability cards to help them survive. The number of ability cards that each player draws depends on which variant of the game you're playing. In points games, players draw 1 plus the number of rounds being played, which is determined ahead of time by the group. For example, in a game with 3 rounds, all players should draw 4 ability cards. In elimination games, players draw 1 plus the number of people playing. For example, if there are 6 players, everyone should draw 7 ability cards. Ability cards are discarded after use and do not get replaced. Now it's time for the first round. At the beginning of each round, pass your current target card to the next surviving player over. If you get yourself, pass again. The player with the Me First card in front of them starts each phase. This passes to the next player over at the beginning of each round. Decide as a group who starts the first round, though this should be an experienced player when possible. Rounds are broken up into 4 phases and repeat until a winner is decided. The first phase is Peril. Before continuing, players give a quick recap of where they are and what they are doing, with all players focusing on what their target is doing. Everyone will quietly determine how their target's choices are leading them into new imminent peril. Focus on what they said they were doing last and continue their story just enough to put them into immediately life-threatening danger. Their new situation should be imminently fatal if they do not act. Freely manipulate their environment, use any lingering consequences from previous rounds, build on recent events, or add something entirely new if it makes sense given the story so far. There's no limitations on what can happen, though you should avoid making it so widespread that it immediately overrides what's happening to players other than your target. An important rule here is the free will rule. Players have autonomy over their own characters. Only they can decide what they say, think, feel, or how they respond to events. When creating peril, peril, other players can loosely pilot your character, though you have the final say over what you do. When you are ready, flip your target card face down in front of you. Once everyone is ready, take turns describing your target's new imminent peril. Ask for more details if you do not understand how your life is in jeopardy. For the carnival worker, they finally found their long-lost friend. Unfortunately, they've become a soul-devouring wraith, desperate to feast on life force. For the TV show host, while looking for proof of paranormal activity, they push their way through some thick spiderwebs. Unfortunately, that triggers an ambush from a pack of rocket-powered spiders. Once everybody is in peril, it's time for Phase 2, Survival. You will all quietly determine how you are using one of your abilities to try to survive. There are a few rules here that pertain to abilities and how they're used. The elephant rule. When you are playing an ability, you can only affect up to an elephant's amount of stuff. The goal is to keep everyone on a similar power level and avoid doing things on such a large scale that it overrides someone else's turn. However, it is totally fine if something starts out small and spirals out of control later as a new peril. The next rule is you done messed up. Any changes that an ability makes to you or reveals about you are permanent. However you describe yourself at the end of the turn is how you are stuck going into the next round. For example, if your ability turns you into a vampire, now you're a vampire, which means you're susceptible to light and garlic. Next, we have the keep it fresh rule. An ability can only make new things happen when it's played. Think about it as being on cooldown. If you are not actively playing the ability this turn, you should not count on its effects to save you. So sure, being a vampire might have saved you last round, but don't beat an undead horse. Showcase how you are doing something amazing with your new ability. There's also the wildcard rule. If you are not happy with any of the current abilities in your hand, you can discard an unused ability to draw and immediately play a new one. This means taking a card from the deck at random and being forced to use it in that round. But any ability that has been used in any way is a part of your character and cannot be replaced. With those rules in mind, when you're ready, place an ability card face down in front of you. Once everyone is ready, take turns revealing your abilities and describing how you intend to survive. Include the ability name and description as part of your explanation. The ex-carnival worker plays the ability BFF, which summons or enchants a creature to be your best friend forever. Recognition floods over their long-lost friend's ghostly face, changing their soul-stealing grasp into a big hug. The TV show host happens to absolutely hate spiders, so in a panic, they create a miniature black hole to indiscriminately suck in everything nearby, including the spiders. Now it's time to move to Phase 3, the vote. A lot has happened so far in the story. Players should take turns giving a quick recap of how they're trying to survive their peril to refresh everyone's memories before the vote. Everyone then draws a vote card which they will use to vote for the player they think is least likely to survive their peril. Players with the most votes face consequences. Who you vote for is entirely your personal opinion, based on how effectively you think other players have described how they'll escape their fate. You cannot vote for yourself, and you do not have to justify or discuss your vote, though you can if you want to. When you are ready, place your vote card in front of you. Once everyone is ready, start a countdown and everyone votes at the same time, placing their vote card in front of their chosen player. In Imminent Peril, no one wins a compromise. In the event of a tie, all tied players have consequences. Everyone loves the happy reunion, so unfortunately, the TV show host and their deadly black hole get the most votes. Now that the voting is done, move into the final phase of the round, resolution. What happens to the player who lost the vote depends on what variant of the game your group is playing. In points games, affected players describe how part of their plan fails, causing them to be injured or hobbled in some way moving forward. All players keep all vote cards they receive until the end of the game to determine the final survivor. In elimination games, affected players describe how their plan went horribly wrong, and their personal story came to an unexpected end. However, this is not the end of the game for them. Eliminated players continue to participate in voting, but also play a new role. At the end of the round, every eliminated player can add something to the story to make the situation somehow even worse. Just like when creating Peril, you have complete creative freedom, though how things are getting worse should not target a specific player. Note that in elimination games, we recommend that players have first round immunity, which prevents them from being eliminated in the first round. The key difference between points and elimination games is whether players die off each round, or if that happens instead at the end of the game for everyone but the winner. In points games, perhaps the TV host is now thoroughly stuck in the spiderwebs, which prevented them from being pulled into the void, but now they're trapped. In elimination games, they definitely put the black hole too close to themselves and were immediately drawn in and crushed by the gravity. As a deceased player, they now get to increase the overall danger every round, including this one. They explain that the wormhole is growing out of control and is vacuuming up more and more of the carnival. Anyone can use this event and fill in more specifics as part of someone's peril in a future round. Now that you know the 4 phases of each round, how do you win the game? Let's start with points games. After 3 rounds, or however many rounds the group decides to play, the player with the least number of vote cards is the winner. This player gets to decide how the overall story ends. But before they do, everyone must wrap up their own personal story arcs. In order of most total votes to least, players describe how their character still ultimately meets an untimely end. The winner then describes what happens with their character and wraps up the overall plot of the story the players have written together over the course of the game. Next, let's talk about elimination games. Rounds will repeat until only one survivor remains. The winner gets to decide how the overall story ends. If a game ends in a tie with no survivors, then the whole group gets to decide what happens to end the story. And congratulations, you've just played your first game of Imminent Peril. This game is about telling an unforgettable story and using creativity to survive situations you won't find anywhere else. Put your creativity to the test and laugh as you watch your friends struggle to survive ridiculous situations. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on this video or reach out via email at support@critharder.com. Looking to mix things up? Check out our game variants video for other ways to play.